So, if you're like me, you probably read the A Song of Ice and Fire series and all the supplemental material for that, or watched the Game of Thrones TV show, or both. And I'm sure there has been one question that's always been tickling at the back of your brain. How many people live in the Seven Kingdoms? What? Did you think this was going to be a theory about who Azor Ahai is or something? Because that's not. I'm not going to add to that conversation. I don't have a good answer. I have no idea. Go watch Preston Jacobs or anyone else. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. But to be honest, I think that it's Tyrek Lannister. No, we're going to talk numbers. Through my research, mainly the wiki, Reddit, and a few articles I ran on the population medieval Europe, I'm going to give you my best guesstimations of the populations of the Seven Kingdoms and Westeros as a whole, hopefully. And look, for the sake of argument, let's just pretend for a moment, the seasons in Westeros are regular. Okay, that way we don't have multi-year winters and multi-year summers, because that really affects with population growth, the stagnancy, and all that. Let's just assume for a moment, okay? Just assume that the seasons are regular, okay? Can we get past that? Thank you. Okay, moving on. Starting out with the size of Westeros itself. George himself has gone on record stating that Westeros is roughly the size of South America, which is roughly 6,890,000 square miles. The Seven Kingdoms is not all of Westeros. The lands beyond the wall and the old gift and the new gift are separate. So, taking that out, this leaves the size of the Seven Kingdoms roughly being around 2,999,647 square miles. Or, roughly the size of the continent of Australia. So, let's break these areas down. Starting not in the Seven Kingdoms proper, we start in the true north of and beyond the wall. The whole area being roughly the size of Canada, or 3,827,006 square miles. Despite its size, most of the land is a frozen glacier, and the somewhat habitable areas are being covered with vast forests. The climate itself is not optimal to house a large population, with the largest settlement, Hardhome, being a complete ruin. Allegedly. Being just slightly above freezing in the summer months and the winters being deadly cold doesn't really make for, a great place to live. Although the hot springs and thermal vents near thin lands make the area somewhat bearable. And just as a side tangent, why did the show make the Thens cannibals? The book Thens are way cooler. Many of them wear bronze armor and wield bronze weapons. I mean, they look so much cooler. I don't know why the show decided to make them just like these weird bald-headed cannibals. It doesn't make any sense. It's been over 10 years, I think, since that episode even aired. I don't know why I even bother. So, with that little tangent over, my best guess for estimate would be that as far as the free folk go, there's maybe between 50,000 to 100,000 of them at best. Moving just a little south, we're going to talk quickly about the wall and the gift. I suppose I would be remiss if I didn't include those areas. The area of the wall and its environs, that being the old gift and the new gift, are roughly the size of Lafayette, or 63,347 square miles. Now, determining the population is kind of hard to figure out. At its peak, the Night's Watch was roughly about 10,000, but it's been much diminished since that high point. And I imagine the number of small folk in the new gift and the old gift is low as well, being so economically dependent on the Night's Watch. My best guess for the population would be between 10,000 and 20,000, probably less than 10,000. Not very many people are in that area. Okay, moving on to the actual Seven Kingdoms, finally. With the largest one of the Seven Kingdoms, we have the North. Despite what some characters say in the show, the North is not half the size of the Seven Kingdoms, but more closer to a third. The size of the North being 1,132,154 square miles, which is about the size of modern-day Kazakhstan. Much of the North is covered in large forests filled with wolves and bears. Oh my. And empty plains. Not to mention hostile swampland in the neck filled with the Westerosi version of alligators called lizard lions. This leads to many places in the north to be uninhabited. Compounded that general climate being slightly warm in the summer and bitterly cold in the winters, it's not surprising that many people don't live there. This leads to many places in the north to be uninhabited. That, compounded with the general climate being just slightly warm in the summer and bitterly cold in the winters, it's not surprising that many people don't live there. With the highest population density being in White Harbor and falling up the White Knife River and on and around the King's Road itself. Which leads me to make the educated guess that the population of the North is roughly 4 to 5 million people. Moving to the polar opposite of the continent, we arrive at the very, very, very warm Dorne. While the size of Dorne is quite large, being 328,472 square miles, or roughly about the size of modern-day Namibia. Despite the size of Dorne, there's not many people that live there, with most of Dorne being a very harsh desert. Despite the size of Dorne, much of it is a very harsh desert, leaving the few inhabitants of the desert living near wells or oases. Much like the North, a majority of the population live on or near the coast or hugging the few rivers located in Dorne, like the Green Blood, or near the Red Mountains bordering the more hospitable Stormlands and Reach. Having said that, I estimate the population will be between 2 to 3 million at best. Oh, the Riverlands, a place geographically lucky enough to have a trio of rivers that form the Trident, the major river system of Westeros, leading it to have a very fertile soil for growing crops coupled with its temperate climate. Despite that, its near central location of the continent has led the Riverlands to being the battlefield for many wars in the long history of Westeros. Despite all the battles and all the wars fought within its boundaries, the population has always seemed to rebound rather quickly. So, having said that, in its area about 268,881 square miles, or about the size of modern-day Myanmar, I suspect there are between roughly 15 to 20 million people living in the Riverlands. The Reach, with its bountiful fields and mild climate, makes it a great agricultural powerhouse for the Seven Kingdoms and Westeros as a whole. With all this extra food, this fuels a large population. As such, most of the Reach's population is located on or around the Mander River, the coastal plains of the west, or at Old Town and its environs itself. The agricultural potential and climate lead me to believe that the Reach probably has the single largest population of any of the Seven Kingdoms. My guess would be roughly about, with a population roughly of 20 to 25 million people on an area of 479,135 square miles, or about the size of modern-day Mali. Moving onward, we're moving towards the Westerlands. The Westerlands being roughly 192,720 square miles, or about roughly the size of Spain. It boasts probably the coolest and strongest castles of the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros, that being Casterly Rock. Don't debate me on this, you know I'm right. The Westerlands boast a low-lying mountain range in the east that leads to a coastal plain to the west, great for ports and trade. Not to mention that the lands are full of gold and silver deposits, arguably making it the richest part of the Seven Kingdoms, at least monetarily. My guess for the population being roughly between 7 and 8 million people. Home to my personal favorite noble house in the Seven Kingdoms, the Baratheons, the Stormlands is roughly 201,967 square miles, or roughly about the size of modern-day Thailand. The Stormlands truly live up to their name, with the coast being battered by many storms leading to a large temperate forest in the Mistwood and Kingswood respectively. The combination of sheer cliffs for coasts and storms leave anchorage for ships much to be desired, with arguably the most populated areas likely being near the Dorne's marshes, despite the history of raiding from Dorne itself, the island of Tarth, and the border environs that border the Reach. Despite this, or in spite of this, I'm not too sure which one, this leaves a Stormland with a low population of only maybe 3 to 4 million people. Ah, the Vale, the home of breathtaking mountainous vistas and picturesque valleys that any good tourism company would exploit. The Vale seems to be based on the country of Switzerland, with its near uninhabited mountain ranges and densely populated valleys. Despite the comparison to Switzerland, the Vale is much bigger, being roughly 255,016 square miles, which is roughly about the size of modern-day Afghanistan. My estimations say it could boast a population of roughly to 5 to 6 million people. The penultimate area of the Seven Kingdoms that I'm going to talk about, and the one that has been most recently formed, is the Crownlands. The Crownlands, being the smallest area of the Seven Kingdoms, the smallest by area being 130,148 square miles, or roughly about the size of Finland. The Crownlands is home to the capital of the Iron Throne and hosts the largest city in the Seven Kingdoms, that being King's Landing, with the land slightly north of the capital being quite substantially and fairly urbanized. But past those areas, the population density decreases, especially towards Crackla Point. The Crownlands also incorporates all the islands in Blackwater Bay, such as Dragonstone and Driftmark. This leaves the population being centered on or near King's Landing and its environs towards the coastline. And my guess, with my best guesstimation being the population being about 3.5 to 4.5 million people. Saving the best for last, let's just talk about the Iron Islands real quick. Being smaller than the country of Denmark, or roughly 11,154 square miles, this is the smallest kingdom in all of the Seven Kingdoms. And as Theon describes it, the Iron Islands are, well, they kind of suck to live in. The Iron Islands has very arable land and forests, so much of the domestic material wealth comes from the few mines that the lords themselves control. No wonder the Ironborn go raiding for materials and women, or altogether try to leave by conquering areas on the mainland of Westeros. I wouldn't want to live in the Iron Islands. It seems terrible. With its size and state of its agricultural output, I think the population will be roughly between 500,000 to 1 million at best. So, if you've been following along and doing a little bit of math, that leaves us with a total population of the Seven Kingdoms being 60 to 70 million people. A fairly robust population for the Seven Kingdoms, and I think it's pretty close to what the population would be if Westeros did indeed exist. Give or take a few million people, right? While many will disagree with me, as this is the internet after all, and of course people have to disagree just to be a contrarian sometimes, but I understand why you would disagree with me. My research wasn't that very good. Leave a comment on what you think the population would be. Please leave a comment. It will please the algorithm. Please, I just started this channel. I need all the help I can get. Please. Or leave a like if you agree with me. Actually, leave a like too if you don't agree with me. I need all the help I can get. Anyway, that's all for me for now. I'm Blue, and I am out of here.